Ministers are looking at raising the driving age to 18 in a move to cut the number of accidents involving teenage motorists. If you look at some of the findings of the research, you can get a sense of why these proposals are being considered. Young drivers aged between 17 and 24 account for 5% of all the miles driven on UK roads each year, but they're involved in 20% of crashes where somebody is injured or killed. So the government is considering raising the age for getting a provisional licence from 16 to 17. Over the following 12 months, they'd then have to clock up 100 hours, of daytime and 20 hours of nighttime supervised practice. Then at 18, they could get a full licence. But there would still be a probationary period during which they wouldn't be allowed to drive between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. unless someone aged over 30 was in the car. There's also a suggestion that all young drivers should be banned from using mobile phones in the car, and that includes hands-free. Well, let's go live to Holloway in North London and speak to Wale Yusuff, the founder of driversedgeuk.com, which is an online community providing advice to new and young drivers. Very good morning. What do you make of these recommendations, these considerations?
I do think generally that the graduate driver licence is flawed. Now, actually, if you're saying that we can have a provisional licence for these young drivers at the age of 17, that's fine. But putting a limit on the number of passengers, a curfew between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m, I think is actually going to be flawed. It's going to be really, really hard to enforce it. And there are other things that we've heard, including, you're only allowed to, the young people will only be allowed to have passengers as family members as well. And I think it's just going to be really, really hard to enforce it all.
Wale, when you look at other countries, I'm sure you've done loads of research on this, what other countries have a very good model where it works, where their young people are a lot safer on the roads?
So America, China and New Zealand are the first few countries that come to mind straight away. And the reason is because during the learning period, the young drivers are actually having some in-class learning as well. And that will actually bring the cost down. You mentioned earlier that they're recommended to have 120 professional learning hours. Well, actually, on an average driving lesson of £25, that actually comes up to quite a lot of money. So it's going to be really, really hard for these young people to become young drivers.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredibly expensive, isn't it? And a long-term investment for the young people. I mean, that you then get to a situation where some are excluded because they just can't afford to drive.
Yeah, I mean, the costs don't just finish there. Not only are they recommended at the moment to have 47 professional learning hours, they're also recommended to have 20 hours with a parent or guardian. In addition to that, the average cost for car insurance is £2,600. So the number of young drivers are actually coming down, but it's not because of the costs. Actually, people are saying that the reason why the number of young drivers are coming down are due to things like the iPad and iPhones, which now means that people don't actually have to physically meet each other or be with each other. They can actually stay in touch through these various platforms that we have available.
Interesting. Well, in the work that you do, the online community, what are people saying on there about this? I'm sure that those who are just coming up to that age of being able to get their provisional licence will be like, no, don't take it away from me yet.
Yeah, well, inevitably, what we try to do with our online community is inevitably assist the young people. Any sort of products and services that we can recommend them, we'll do so. And really, no matter what the government brings into play, the young people and the young drivers are actually going to get onto the road. It gives them a great sense of independence, and it's something that is somewhat a life skill that all young people inevitably will end up doing.
Well, one suggestion that's also been made to us, I'm sure it's something that you talk about online as well, is that new drivers should have zero tolerance when it comes to alcohol, and maybe not just the driver, passengers as well. I mean, what is your discussions about alcohol? Which direction do they go in?
So inevitably, with the graduate driving licence, there's a few things that are being considered. And actually, the 0% alcohol limit is something that we totally agree with. Personally, we believe that should not only be for young drivers, all drivers across the board. That's really, really important. And however, the other elements of the graduate driving licence that have been socialised, I think that they're actually flawed. But the alcohol limit is actually a good idea from our standpoint.
OK, well, it's a long way down the road, isn't it? Not likely to come in for a good few years. But Wale Yusuff, thank you very much for talking to us today. Thank you.